How much is your drinking actually costing you in terms of dollars or pounds or euros? A lot of times it's not just the money that you're spending on alcohol, but it's the money that you are leaving on the table because you're only operating at about a 5 out of 10 instead of an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10. When you drink more than you know that you should drink, you don't perform at your best. You're irritable, you're foggy, you're tired, you're lethargic, you make poorer decisions. What's the cost of that? A lot of our clients in our 90-day and 365-day programs mistakenly think that they're not really spending that much on alcohol, or that their alcohol habits aren't really costing them too much. Maybe they spend $500 a month on alcohol. Maybe it's even as much as $1,000. Whatever, $6,000 a year, $12,000 a year, no big deal, right? Or is it a big deal? Because if you have a business and you're making $400,000 in revenue a year and you're operating at a 5 out of 10 because of your drinking habits, how much revenue would you generate in your business if you were operating in an 8 or a 9 out of 10? Would it be $800,000? That's a $400,000 swing. And if we add, say, $10,000 of alcohol purchases throughout the year, we add that 400 to the 10,000, your drinking habits are costing you $410,000 a year when we do that equation. To help discuss this, I've brought in a lovely gentleman by the name of Jim Miller, who is a 64-year-old married father of 2 teenage girls from San Diego, California. And Jim is the Director of Membership Development here at Alcohol Free Lifestyle. Jim speaks to many of our applicants for our 90-day and 365-day stop drinking programs. So he is at the front line and has heard hundreds of people's stories about the insidious effects of alcohol on their lives. Jim, welcome. Great to have you here.
It's my pleasure, James. Good to be here.
Jim, you speak in depth for about 45 minutes to an hour with many of our applicants who come through our programs. And what are some of the things that they share with you about what their drinking is actually costing them financially? Maybe what do they think it's costing them? And then what is the reality that you help them see?
Oh, well, the number one, without doubt, the number one issue is productivity, right? Because remember, we're talking to very high performing individuals, and productivity is really, what we feel is probably our superpower, our ability to create, to make things happen, to generate income and revenue. And all of a sudden, when we get on the other side of 5 or 6 beers or 6 or 7 drinks, whatever it is, right? All of a sudden that productivity is shut down. We're basically just pouring water all over the flames of productivity and just small, it becomes just nothing but a smoldering mess. And so this is the number one concern that I have, that I hear, is the loss of productivity and what it's costing. And many of the people that I speak to will tell me that their loss of opportunity, the loss that they have of getting out there and creating new clients, the loss of just the willingness, the motivation is gone, let alone the physical, right? When you're foggy headed, you're tired, you don't feel well. But then there's the loss of motivation, because alcohol works on, our entire endocrine system, on the generation of motivating hormones, and so what ends up happening is we just become complacent. We become lazy. We become slothful practically, right? And it's that loss of that edge to get out there and work out every day, to get out there and run the marathon, to get out there and meet the new clients, to generate the new business, right? That's what really is a big concern, and an extraordinary destroyer of revenue, because the revenue opportunities that our clients have are massive. So when we miss an opportunity, it's not like we missed out on a few $100s. Many times it's tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're missing out on because we either can't do it or we don't want to do it, right? We're not motivated.
Yeah. You, more than anyone, I would have thought, understand the perils of alcohol. You grew up in a family where your father was an alcoholic.
Correct.
You've gone on to do pretty well. You were the former vice president of sales at Tony Robbins' organization. That sounds pretty impressive. And you sat on the executive board there. And then you were VP of sales at T. Harv Eker, who's very well known in the personal development world. And then the VP of sales in North America is Success Resources International, which is a big events organization, one of the biggest events businesses in the world. And you're now a fellow in the Harvard University Institute of Coaching as well. So you've generated some revenue for clients or for companies over the years, and you've experienced as well what it's like to grow up in a household where productivity is just slaughtered because of an alcoholic father. So yeah, what insights have you gleaned over the years from those experiences?
Well, what I know is that economically, certainly alcohol could have either an insidious effect where you don't realize that you missed out on a $250,000. Didn't we have just recently? We had a client that went through our 90-day program and was able to generate
$250,000. Yeah, his name is Tim Steele, and he doesn't mind me sharing his name because he's been in some public-facing testimonials and case studies. But yeah, he was a commercial mortgage broker out of Oregon, 35 years old, married, and he would go to networking events, mostly on a Friday night in his industry, and pick up clients. And he was drinking at these events. Probably a very socially acceptable volume of drinking too, by the way. Maybe 3 or 4 drinks, maybe 4 or 5. But then he was drinking consistently during the week as well, not getting drunk, but just drinking sufficiently enough that he was waking up tired and irritable and foggy and operating at only a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Tim Steele went through our 90-day program and stopped drinking. And in his testimonial video that he asked to make at the end of it, because he was successfully alcohol-free, he said that he generated $250,000 more business in the 90 days that he spent with us because he had clarity and focus and energy, because he woke up just a little bit earlier and worked just a little bit better and made better strategic decisions. $250,000 of additional business because he chose to be alcohol-free inside of our 90-day stop drinking program.
Oh, let me tell you something.
That's a huge number. It's a huge number, Jim.
Well, James, I'll tell you this. With our clients and our membership at the level that, most, if not many, if not most of our clients are at, $250,000 is available to in situations if you have clarity, if you have energy, and if you have that drive. Again, being a vice president with Tony Robbins, I know all about drive and determination and taking action, massive action in the moment. And I can tell you, it's in those moments that you create extraordinary success, right? I mean, this is the largest concern that I have from the people that I speak with is the productivity that they're leaving in the bottle, in the can, because they're showing up at a 5 or a 6 when the circumstance, and still showing up at a 5 or a 6, they're doing well. Imagine what happens when you show up at a 10, right? It doesn't double. It's logarithmic. Right? You could be 10 times Just going from a 6 to a 10 can create 10 times, because now at this point you're scaling. You're scaling. You're not just increasing. You're not even multiplying. You're scaling at enormous levels. But that requires you to be at your best, right?
And I'm assuming that many of the folks that you speak to, at least on the phone call, when you walk them through that, that's pretty much an eye-opening experience for them. Because I can tell you, I've spoken to thousands of people since I've been helping people stop drinking since 2015. And like I said at the beginning of this, in many cases, they mistakenly believe that their alcohol consumption isn't that financially costly, that they're only spending thousands of dollars per year. I think you did the math, right? You did the math on how much money people might be spending on if they were like a 3 or 4 beer a day drinker. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it's like $10,000, right?
$10,000 a year on average. Someone would
if you're drinking about 4 beers a day. Yeah, about $10,000.
Or a bottle of wine a night, maybe.
Or a bottle of wine a night. It's not a massive amount of money. And so that's, like we say, the big lie. The big lie is, hey, this isn't costing me money. It's like, oh, really? Okay. Well, you didn't go to work Monday until 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, because you were hungover from the weekend. What did you miss that Monday? And there's 52 Mondays in a year, right? And you're missing out on each one of those. Do you think in those 52 Mondays, there might have been one opportunity to create some significant revenue, a new client, open up a new company? You know what I'm saying? The opportunities that we miss because we're not razor sharp, right? Because we're not razor sharp, we're not cutting through into the opportunities. And that's, but we're still doing well. Don't get me wrong. We're still doing, my people I speak with are still doing well, but how much better they could be doing. Wow. Leaving a lot of money on the table.
I can share my own personal experience. I stopped drinking alcohol in 2010. And, I was a socially acceptable drinker. Grew up in Australia. I'd have some wine or beers most nights of the week. On the weekends, I'd drink considerably more. I got to my mid-30s and I woke up one morning. I was in Austin, Texas. I was at the 2010 South by Southwest Festival, which is a big annual festival they have there. It was March 2010. I woke up. I was in a hotel about 20 minutes on the outskirts of Austin, downtown Austin. And I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I just looked tired and I looked weathered. And I had a little bit of fat roll that wasn't there previously, or hadn't been there in years previously, that it just crept up. My sleep wasn't great. I was doing mediocre performance in my work. And I just committed there and then to stop drinking for 30 days just to see what it would feel like. And I did. I stopped drinking for 30 days. And in those 30 days, I lost 13 pounds of fat. My skin got better. I slept better. And an opportunity to audition to become a Sports Center anchor on ESPN presented itself during these 30 days. And because I had the clarity and the focus and the energy, and I was operating now at about what I would estimate was an 8 out of 10. So I went from a 5 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 very quickly just by eliminating alcohol. I had the drive, the passion, the strategy to fly myself from Los Angeles, California over to New York City and then get a car to Bristol, Connecticut, where ESPN is based. That's the headquarters of ESPN. Do an audition and get the job. And 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after my audition, I made my television debut hosting the most iconic sports television show in America, Sports Center on ESPN. Now that wasn't a fluke. That was because I stopped drinking and had clarity and energy and focus and positivity, and I went for it. And I got to tell you, it was a childhood dream of mine to host a TV show. And when I finally did it as a 35-year-old man, I did it on the most iconic sports television show in the world, SportsCenter. That is the power of stopping drinking. That is the power of being alcohol-free, of having clarity and focus and energy. And by the way, as the years passed, because I'd stopped drinking, that opened up a whole cascade of other healthy habits where I started focusing on health and nutrition, exercise, and then created what now is 2 7-figure businesses, e-commerce business that helps people sleep better, this very business here, Alcohol-Free Lifestyle, which helps high achievers to stop drinking. None of this would have been possible. None of it would have been possible if I was still tired and lethargic and irritable and foggy from the effects of alcohol.
Absolutely.
Hi, this is Victoria English, Senior Coach at Project 90, the program that helps high achievers stop drinking either temporarily or permanently. If you're an executive, entrepreneur, investor, physician, or other high achiever and know you're drinking too much, if you know your current drinking habits are compromising your sleep, relationships, health, and your happiness, and you're ready to finally get your drinking under control by quitting for either at least 90 days or 1 year, you are invited to apply to become a Project 90 client. Our 90-day and 1-year programs involve a safe, fun, yes, I said fun, private virtual community of high achievers with a process that boasts an incredible 92% success rate of clients reaching at least 90 consecutive days alcohol-free. Applicants can apply for an introductory interview by visiting alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Project 90. You'll likely speak directly with me or one of our other coaches. Are you ready to stop for at least 90 days? Are you ready to stop for at least 1 year? If so, we can help. Application interviews are limited and are conducted on a first-come, first-served basis. If there are no remaining interview times available, wait a few weeks and try again. Schedule your 15-minute initial application interview by visiting alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Project 90. Let's get back to the show.
You know, it's funny because I remember when I was interviewing for the job at Tony Robbins, right? I went up to Chicago and I was in my final interview and I went to a UPW. That's his big 3-day event that he has. And I was scheduled to meet him the 4th day, the Monday after the weekend event. And at that point, interview with Tony. And I can tell you this right now. And there was some really famous guest speakers that were there. And I happened to be in the restaurant that weekend night. And I was watching one of the guest speakers because it was very loud. And you would recognize his name if I told you, but I'm going to compassionately spare his name. But anyway, he was drinking more and more and more, and people were surrounding him. I mean, he's a really famous guy. And at one point, he fell back off of this chair onto the floor, and it was just sprawled out. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, oh my God! And I realized the guy is an alcoholic. Okay, well, the story is not about him. The story is about the fact that what I was able to do because I didn't drink, I wasn't at a hotel slamming it down. I was able to keep my head clear because it was like, here was my quandary was, what do I tell Tony Robbins about myself that would be impressive? How do you impress Tony Robbins, right? So I stayed up until 4:00 in the morning the night before, thinking and deliberating. And James, I came up with the answer that got me the job. And it was, and it was because I had clarity of mind. And my clarity of mind brought me to the point to realize, say nothing. And that's what I did in the interview. I said nothing. So that when Tony came in and he busted into the room and he was late, he had to leave because he had an interview. I mean, he had an event in Kuala Lumpur. And here I am waiting to be interviewed. And he sat down. He said, Jim, listen, I don't have much time. I'm going to be late. Let's talk about you and what you can do and what you think you could do. And I didn't say anything. All I did was I took his book out of his hand. I hit the pencil out of his hand, the pen. I drew a big X across the page of his book, handed the book back to him with the pen right in the middle of the X. And I looked at him and I just said one word, go. And he looked at me and I yelled at him, go. And he drew a straight line across. And he said, what are you doing? I said, Tony, I said, when I said go, you didn't know what to do, right? You were stuck, right? He said, yes. I said, well, this is what you did your audience last night. Because you did this great presentation from stage. And then when you did the call to action for them to purchase your big program, you said, we have a table in that corner, we have a table in that corner, and we have one in these two corners. Go ahead and sign up. And you sent them in 4 directions at one time. And you froze the room. And you didn't see that because you left the stage. I saw it. You froze the room and destroyed your own sale. That's what got me the job. Right there.
Wow.
That's why I got hired. But I had clarity of mind throughout that whole weekend. And that position, getting that position, has enabled me to be with Nobel Prize winners, travel around the world, be with Hugo Chavez in Venezuela negotiating peace, be with be with Harvard University and make lots of money over the years. Thank God. I'm very blessed with all of that. But, had I been drinking, I would have missed out on that whole weekend. Seriously. Staying sharp and having the edge at all times, because you never know when opportunity's coming at you, right?
Yes. You got to seize the opportunity when it comes.
You could be on the floor, sprawled out, surrounded by people, drunk because you fell off a bar stool. And you're world renowned. It was sad. It really was. I felt sorry because I know I come from an alcoholic background.
Yeah.
With my dad.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. That was.
But listen, the other thing too, one last thing about the money thing is that sometimes I'll have people and, they're obvious candidates for the program. I'll put the invite out there, and I'll tell them, we have a tuition just like any other, this thing doesn't run by itself. And people will say, well, I'm just, I'm going to have to think about the financial commitment and not like it's that large, but I tell people it's like, do you not realize what it is that you're losing with alcohol? And, and I tell people as a performance coach, right, James? I said, listen, I said, what you're doing is you're trying to make a decision about something that you should be making a choice about. And there's a distinction between a decision and a choice. And a decision is when we're looking outward at the resources and determining whether or not the situation's right, the resources are there, everything's in place. And if not, we don't go forward, right? This is what decisions do to us. But I said, instead, if you will start living your life from a place of choice, where you internally look inside of yourself and make the determination that this is something you're going to want to do, then you will manifest the resources. Why? Because your focus, your energy, your intention will be there. And this is how successful people achieve the success they do. It's not because of the external factors that are there. They make the choice themselves, and they manifest whatever resources need to be invested into it, because that's where their focus is. That's where their energy is, right? Choose to be alcohol free. Don't decide. Choose it, right? So it's a lifestyle choice when you think about it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I named this organization Alcohol Free Lifestyle. The lifestyle word really resonated with me because it is a lifestyle. And, when you can enjoy being alcohol free, enjoy it far more than drinking alcohol, man, your lifestyle is just glorious. It can be absolutely glorious because then you've got health, fitness, mental health. Alcohol is a massive depressant, irritant. It irritates people, creates fogginess and distraction and tension, and people aren't present with their kids, not present in their business. I haven't drunk since 2010, but if I have a bad night's sleep for whatever reason, I'm not performing at a 9 out of 10 in my business the next day. It drops noticeably.
Especially as you get older.
Feeling when they have even just a couple of seemingly innocent glasses of wine or drinks each night, but most nights, Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, whatever, even if you're not getting drunk, even if you're not falling off a stool, even if you're just quote unquote relaxing, which is a nonsense, by the way, I'll explain in a second, but even if you think you're relaxing at the end of the day with a couple of beers or a couple of wines, you are literally compromising your sleep and compromising your ability to function at your best the next day. I will say this as it relates to alcohol. If you are going to drink alcohol, you're actually better off drinking alcohol for breakfast than you are close to bedtime. Because when you drink any amount of alcohol, what does your body do? Your body goes to work trying to break down and get rid of the toxins from the alcohol at the very time when your body is supposed to be relaxing, repairing, restoring, going into that deep restorative REM phase of sleep. But when you drink your seemingly innocent glass of wine or your scotch or your whiskey or your beer or whatever it is your poison is, and you're doing that within a few hours of bedtime, you are literally just destroying your sleep quality. And people can argue until they're blue in the face. They can say, oh, but it helps me relax, it helps me fall asleep. Well, the truth is, it probably does help you fall asleep, but the quality of your sleep is going to be severely compromised. At least if you're having your whiskey or your wine or your beer over your cornflakes in the morning or with your morning muffin or your toast or whatever it is that you have, at least you're giving your body 12 hours to get rid of the toxins. Now, this isn't an invitation to be having a drink with breakfast, obviously, but I think you get the point. So I invite you, the listener, to really just think through the drink. Think about what it is costing you financially, because yes, you might only be spending 10 grand a year on purchasing alcohol, but the cost, the opportunity cost is far greater. And I'll tell you this, we haven't even talked about divorce. What does divorce cost you financially? What does it cost relationships, like strained relationships from drinking? What does a divorce cost you? In some cases, millions of dollars. Other cases, only hundreds of thousands. Pretty significant, Jim.
DUIs.
DUIs. What's a DUI cost these days? There's the fine, but then there's also the cost of not being able to show up for work or not being able to, or whatever.
You get your picture in the paper.
You do. DUI. Let me see this. DUI. What is it? Let me just type this in. What does a DUI fine look like? Or what does a DUI cost? Let's have a look.
Oh gosh, it's minimum 10,000.
Is that right?
Yeah, you're going to spend minimum 10,000 because you've got an attorney to get involved. You've got the fine itself.
Yeah, here we go. So for a first offense, the penalty is about $400. But if you have a third time offense, penalties can be $10,000 and 7 years in prison. How much does a DUI cost in Kansas? Here we go. So a first time offense is between $750 and $1,000, and then it goes up to $10,000 thereafter. And then in Alabama, for example, it's $2,100. Let's do what does a DUI cost in California? Let's do that. What does a DUI cost in California? Let's have a look. Range from $390 to $5,000 plus penalty assessments and fees that can raise the total cost to $18,000. California ain't cheap, folks. So $18,000 on top of those extra taxes that you're paying in California.
But you can smoke the pot.
But you can smoke the pot. Yeah. What does it cost in New York? Let's have a quick look here. What does it cost in New York? Yeah, look at this. $2,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
Crazy. So anyway, I think we've scared people enough. Jim, what do you think?
I think so. I think so. Phone should be ringing off the hook now.
If you are someone who's listened to this and this has been a bit of a wake-up call, and you would like to do something about it, and you would like to explore getting some support with us at Alcohol Free Lifestyle, and you'd like to speak directly with today's guest, Jim Miller, I invite you to visit alcoholfreelifestyle.com/schedule. There you can leave your name and number. I will have one of our coaches, Coach Victoria or Corey, give you a quick 15-minute introductory call just to say hello, just to learn a little bit about you. And then from that point, if appropriate, we'll schedule you in with Jim here, and you can have a lengthier conversation about how or if we might be able to support you to get power over your drinking habits, to change your relationship to alcohol, and to go from what might feel currently a 5 or a 6 out of 10 in terms of productivity to an 8 or a 9 out of 10, even a 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for spending time with us, Jim. Appreciate you.
My pleasure.
And to you, the listener, thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye for now. Hi there, this is James Swanwick. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I would be so grateful if you would leave a review. That will help us climb the rankings and get our show exposed to so many more people who could really benefit from the content. You can do that by going into Apple Podcasts, rating the show, writing a little 1-sentence summary, and posting it. That would be so amazing. Thank you. Likewise, if you would like to schedule a 15-minute exploratory call and apply for our Project 90 program, then you can do so by going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90. If you'd like to get the free guide, that is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. Our YouTube channel is at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at James Swanwick. Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next one.